Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Listen to this. Why are they even discussing this after everything we've uncovered? Tell me this is not a bombshell. Something is happening. And the ECB is being more honest than most of these other massive central banks. The Fed spoke out, but they were contradicting themselves when they were talking about stablecoins. You have one aspect of the Fed that's praising stablecoins right now. You had another aspect we read from recently. I don't remember if that was the regular video or members only video. My apologies. I don't remember. But the other part of the Fed was recently cautioning against stablecoins. But then you have once more, and this is why I question the U.S. Treasury, what they're doing. Something is wrong here. We're getting to a point here. This article is blowing the lid off of things. I'm telling you. But wait, we'll get there. Then you have the U.S. Treasury like, oh, stablecoins are going to be this integral part of the system. My apologies. It was a hard day today. My voice is all messed up. So then you have this article here. A mass redemption of stable coins could force the European Central Bank to adjust its monetary policy, a senior official warns. So I know some of you might write that off. Oh, that's just a headline. This is what they actually say. Listen to this. Concerns are mounting. Let me read it straight. I was going to pause. Concerns are mounting about the risks posed by stablecoins. What? Folks, if it's not a setup, all right, many of you have that position. I can respect that. If it's not a setup, then why is the U.S. Fed? Well, I can't even include the Bank of England because they cautioned everybody already. They said, listen, the Bank of England said, listen, don't use stablecoins. We are what was the wording that they used? We're recommending that you use tokenized deposits. So I can't include them. The ECB is warning about stablecoins. The BIS is warning about stablecoins within the last 2 months. The IMF even came out. They popped out and warning about stablecoins. If it's not a setup, folks, if the stablecoins are not the dynamite in the holes of the system, then what is this? Why are they doing this? You tell me, why are they doing this? And it's not just them saying it. The experts before the central banks even came in and took a look at stablecoins, the experts we were already covering that aspect of stablecoins, that they were unstable. And we lived through a run on stablecoins already. If it's not rigged, please explain to me why it's not rigged. Why this is not a setup. They're setting the system up, in my humble opinion, it's possible. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. So they can profit on the downfall of it. But in order to profit on the downfall of it, given that they want to do it now. They want to do it now. Why? Because a lot of them are older. All right. They're older now. I mean, much older. And so they don't feel like they have any time to waste. All right. That makes sense. And once again, not a guarantee. I'm playing with thoughts, but I think this makes sense. So in order to profit off the downfall of the system, they need to ensure that it happens when they want to, at the press of a button, right? Could be that, the withdrawal of stablecoins at the press of a button. But it also could be, if you look at it another way, they could press that button on the media. What did the experts say from the documents that we were reading recently? They said, and let me gather this together. They were saying something akin to there you go. They were saying all it would take is a potent piece of a mainstream news media to cause a run. They call it an information run. Look that up. The members know it's called an information run. That's something we covered about a month ago, folks. So they have the system rigged in two ways. One, they control the information. Who's they, Mick? You're saying they. Folks, look into the companies that own almost all of the media outlets. And when I say media, I'm talking about news outlets, like the legacy sports channels, the mainstream ones. They own those big movie companies, everything. There are larger companies that people really don't talk about, larger companies that own these companies. And although they seem large to us, like these mainstream news media and in sports sites and movie companies, they seem big. They're not the biggest. There's bigger companies that own them. That's who is a part of running the show. That's who has their finger on the button. That's who's in deep with the BlackRocks and the Vanguards. That's who I'm talking about. So they have the system rigged in two ways. They can press the button in two ways. Information run, stablecoins, institute the stablecoin system goes down. Then they will have to rely on things, alternative systems like DLT, which they are taking over. They have the treasuries and they have the reserves. They have the big liquidity pools, creating them in closed ecosystem, private ecosystems. They have extra security. According to Ripple, they're working on extra security. According to Hedera, I think it was Hedera, they have military grade security. Is that for you and me? No, that's not for you and I. That's for them. That's for big companies. This was always about taking over a system that is filled with flaws. Now they're slowly, although they're trying to speed it up. We have seen a lot more activity, but they're taking over and they're rigging the old system. They're taking over the new financial system. At least they're attempting to. They can't shake out all the different bank coin holders. Apparently, there's a lot of people that are still remaining, which they're not concerned about. There's such a tiny little bit. There's 8 billion people on Earth. Even if there's more than 1 million of us bank coin holders, who cares? Like, it's just 8 billion people on Earth. We're just a pittance in their opinion. So they're not worried about us. Let me read a little bit further. This is major. Make sure you read this yourself. It's on Yahoo Finance. So it says this: concerns are mounting about the risks posed by stablecoins, which have experienced strong growth, with their market cap exceeding $300 billion in 2025. That's what's causing a concern because, and yet you have the U.S. Treasury Secretary shouting excitedly with great alacrity about, oh, they're going to be trillions. Sir, can you explain how that's a good thing for regular people who have their money tied up in the banking system? Can you please explain why that's good? Can anyone? What's best for the customer more so than having their money be secure? The system already is wrought with flaws, unrealized losses, commercial real estate, low liquidity, especially with the Fed and all that stuff going on. That's unbelievable. Credit. There are links to the shadow banking system that they don't want to talk about, but we've spoken about it. Folks, we'll see what happens in the future. Of course, we're just prognosticating here. We're trying to use actual evidence to figure out what's more than likely to happen. But if this goes down, bank coins will explode in value, in my humble opinion, not financial advice. And no, I don't need to convince you, and I'm not trying to convince you. And if you disagree, which a lot of people do, disagree with me, you know it, that's perfectly fine. I can respect that. But that's my opinion. Bank coins will explode. They need the liquidity. They need the bridge currency aspect. Nothing runs without that right now. There's increased fragmentation, low liquidity on every level, low liquidity when it comes to credit, low liquidity when it comes to reserves. How many more? Did you see the video yesterday? I believe I put that video out. I believe I did. Watch that video yesterday. If it covered the information I'm thinking that I covered in the video yesterday, my apologies. I do a lot of research, folks, more so than just with the YouTube. So sometimes it's all swirled around in my mind. But I believe that it was potent information I covered that would tell you a lot about what's going on right here, right now. So if you haven't seen that video yesterday, make sure you did, but take those powerful hands and hit that like button. If you like this type of content, let's continue. Olaf Schleespen, president of Die Nederlandsche, my apologies if I mispronounced that, I think it's Die Nederlandsche Bank, and a member of the European Central Bank's governing council, has warned that the rapid expansion of stablecoins could have serious implications for Europe's economy. If that's the case, and we know the state that Europeans' economy is in, it's been having some hard times these last few years. Look at the U.S.'s. The U.S. is in a much more precarious position. So just extrapolate there. What would this mean for the U.S.? And yet European Central Bank, what I can respect, At least these people, these representatives of the European financial system, they're speaking some truth. They're telling people the hard truth, like, hey, yeah, can you use these? Sure. Are these not? Are these risky? Yes. While the U.S. is different. Why? The U.S. is like, no, stable coins now. I don't know. I would question that. Anytime someone comes to you showing a bunch of teeth and telling you good things, and it's like, there's no negative to this. And they don't tell you any negative is not balanced. There's no negative to this. I would question that. Let's continue. It says, speaking about the accelerating growth of dollar-based stablecoins, he noted that if their adoption continues at the current pace, they could eventually reach a level where they become systemically important. Once again, to parallel, according to what I grasped from Scott Bessent's last few outings, the U.S. sounds like they want it to become systemically important. Yes or no? But if that's going to be a problem, according to the European financial system representatives, why would it not be a problem in the U.S., which, once more, I iterate, is in a much more precarious position? I'm just playing with thoughts. I mean, you tell me. A lot of you have great thoughts out there. I'll say that. You're very perspicacious. It says, furthermore, he emphasized that a wave of large-scale redemptions, essentially a run on stablecoins, could trigger market turbulence that extends far beyond the crypto sector. What do they know that's making them believe this? Sure, those are the facts, but those have been the facts for years. For years. Why wouldn't they just get out ahead of this and just for years just continuously go at stablecoins, say, hey, this is what we think about stablecoins. We don't want to use them, and educate the people if that's the case. Why now? Do you believe that I'm looking too much into this, or I'm reading too much into this? That's how some people say. One way to look at it is maybe, Mick, you're looking too much into this. And another way to say it is maybe I'm researching and asking questions, which the most brilliant minds have always said to ask questions. My father told me to ask questions. You're like, Mick, you think your father was a brilliant mind? Yes, he was. But also wasn't it Socrates or Plato also said, hey, listen, always ask questions? Right. Something to think about. I'm just asking questions here. So it says essentially a run on stablecoins could trigger market turbulence that extends far beyond the crypto sector. Yeah. Or is it that they obtained information? They've gotten the updates on their system, just like we've been doing as far as Japan's system. Holy smokes. Wow. Not looking good. China system in trouble. The U.S. in trouble. The U.K. in trouble. But I respect where the Bank of England is what they're trying to do. I don't think that they have the power they believe in. That's why they're just suggesting. That's all they can do. We'll see if their suggestions are taken. I don't think they will be. This stablecoin thing is getting this massive. It's the Trojan horse, right? And then when they can't do what they're being promoted to do, and they can't, the native tokens are going to profit greatly from that, providing the liquidity, providing the speed, providing the bridge currency aspect. And it's funny. I had an article, or was it? No, maybe it was a document. Maybe I may have even posted it. You seen those documents recently in the members only section? Take a look at that. Some of the, even if you just read the red red underlined portions of it, read those. Look at that real quick. There was an expert that was speaking on how the native tokens benefit from stablecoins. I'm not sure if I covered that article or not. I have so many articles that are up on the desktop, like everybody else does. Everybody has a ton of tabs open. We're all doing this particular research. And I was surprised that somebody actually was speaking on that. Yes, I was. I get shocked from time to time. And I'm like, whoa. You know what? I should have gotten the person's name. I really should have. I'd like to know who is doing bold research, because there's certain research where it doesn't really rock the boat. And then there's research that rocks the boat. Yes, it does. Certain things, certain people don't want you speaking about. I'm going to tell you right now, you'll see. Like, I want to start a channel, do that. Start a channel. We need more researchers. We need more thoughts. We need more brilliant minds. Do that. I'm 100% for you. Just know, just be ready for any type of pushback. That's it. If some people don't get that, then you didn't step deep enough into the waters. But I'm just saying. So I like bold, courageous people that speak on things like that. And this is one of them, where you're talking about the intricacies of a system that is all about facade, appearance, right? They appear to be something, but they're not. This is a part of that. Anyways, let's continue on here. Quote, if stable coins are not that stable, ooh, he's about to cook them, you could end up in a situation where the underlying assets need to be sold quickly, unquote. Sleeshpan told the Financial Times, in such a scenario, he said that the ECB might be forced to reconsider its monetary policy stance. According to Sleeshpan, the central bank could be pushed to adjust interest rates. Wait a minute, sir. Wait a minute. You were on a certain pathway. Why would you veer off of it? Let's read that again, folks. That's strange. In such a scenario, he said the ECB might be forced to reconsider its monetary policy. Sir, folks, can you explain why he went down this path after saying all of that? Sir, if there's a run on stablecoins, those banks in Europe are in trouble. Unless, folks, there's something I don't know. Maybe there's an aspect I'm not looking at. Okay, inform me. I'm asking in all humility. And anyone who's been on the channel, members only section, all that for a long time knows I'm willing to learn from others. Okay. All right. So I will consider that. But from what I know, they'd be in trouble. So why take this route? Oh, the monetary policy. Monetary policy, shouldn't you be worried about people's capital? All right, let's continue on. Let's see what else he has to say. According to Sleeshpan, the central bank could be pushed to adjust interest rates. Nonetheless, it is unclear whether that would mean tightening or loosening policy. What? Let's continue on. What is he? All right. He emphasized that authorities, I think that's pretty clear which one you would need to do. I mean, it's based on what has already been done, and then adding into the mix the variables of a bank run and how that affects everything, right? Which are very observable and predictable occurrences, I would think. Yeah. I'm just asking. Let's keep going. He emphasized that the authorities would first rely on financial stability tools. Why didn't you elaborate on what that is? Before turning to interest rate changes. And sir, from these new technologies you're absorbing, would there be other things that would be considered financial stability tools? You said authorities. Okay, authorities, but authorities could include both leaders of banks, but also leaders of banks are not constrained, I would think, unless there's something I don't know about how European financial system works. They wouldn't be simply constrained to the utilization of legacy system offerings for stability tools. Stability tool could be liquidity. Stability tool could be a pathway or bridge that's used to pull in value that you can also use to sell to fill the gaps of the liquidity that you have lost. No, I believe so. But why would you leave that so opaque is the question. Yes, I'm on you today. This right here is a very telling article. Why talk about this now? And yes, there is the proliferation of stablecoins. Once again, that's the superficial aspect. There's something deeper than that. That cannot be the only reason why. So to prove that, once more, all the different countries have their financial problems. And so what they're not saying is stablecoins are not stable. And yet we have all of these pre-existing problems. We don't need another one. That's the missing part. Why are they not saying that to the people? Why not be honest with the people? It's the people's capital that you are harboring. That's what makes me question this. So it's highly likely that there's new information that has come out that's making them quite alarmed about this new addition to the problems they already have. And I'm talking globally, not just in Europe, because what he's talking about, it applies to everywhere else, and even more so because their systems are wrought with more problems than the European system. Although once more, Europe has their fair share of problems. Sure. All right, let's cover a little bit of Bitcoin news. Let's get to that today. All right. Appreciate you all being here today. 100%. This was a difficult day for old Alphanim. Very difficult day. So I appreciate you listening to me, and I'm having a good time speaking to you. This is probably the first time today I'm feeling good today. Like just, how could I put it? Just internally, you know what I mean? Like now I'm feeling good speaking to you. So thank you for being here. Even if you don't know it, you've done a good for Alphanim. Thank you. So now, that sounds weird. You did good for like is that like third person? Did I just speak in third person? Let me not do that. That's strange, right? But I did it. Right. So now, and some people out there are going to be like, I've heard this before. Like I'm in a giant room here, right? So sometimes when I'm speaking, I project my voice so it'll sound better on the microphone. In times like this, I'm just not projecting my voice. I'm just talking very low because my energy is just low today. And somebody will definitely, they've gotten in the comment section plenty of times. Why do you sound different? Why are you sounding different? You're trying to sound different. What? I'm just simply speaking at a lower tone. That's it. This is my lower tone voice. Like I'm not trying to project. I'm not trying to expend too much energy. That's it. That's it. There's nothing deep about that, like about this. I had a hard day. I'm not trying to project. That's it. My voice, that is. So now, this article is titled, Bitcoin dips lose meaning with hundreds of trillions near entry, says Bitwise. Thank you, Bitwise. This is what I've been trying to say. And it's like, I feel sometimes as though the big timers, they leave when Bitcoin isn't doing well. I don't see a lot of articles saying, yay, Bitcoin is still bullish. Bitcoin has all these positive catalysts. I don't see that. And it feels like they've left us for dead. I do. I feel like there's only a few of us that stand up and say Bitcoin remains bullish, even though the price is down, when it gets hard and when the people are ready to hate on you, ready to go against you because Bitcoin is down and they want to kick you. They feel like they want to kick you in the ribs when it's down. Bitcoin's down, but I'm not down. I know what I know, right? But it feels like a lot of big timers leave us for dead at those times. So I respect this, Bitwise, for you to come out and say what I've been saying, you to say the truth, that institutions are still interested. Trillions are coming. And so Bitcoin remains bullish. It's not over. It's not done. The big explosion hasn't happened yet. It is to come. And that is a simple, observable truth. Thank you. All right. I respect that. So now it begins here. Expanding institutional access is setting Bitcoin for broad future growth as massive global capital pools gain new entry points. I don't know why I read it like that. My apology. A shift underscored by Bitwise CEO Hunter Horsley. Hunter Horsley. That's an interesting name, sir. I mean, no disrespect, but I remember there was a wrestler. Very good wrestler, WWE wrestler, not my kind, freestyle Greco. He didn't do any of that. So let's just be clear. All right. Where freestyle Greco and folk wrestling is over here. That's UFC type stuff. And WWE is over there. No disrespect to WWE. There was a wrestler named Hunter Hearst Helmsley. They start calling him Triple H. He was a very good wrestler back a long time ago, decades ago. Very good wrestler. But that's what I think about when I hear this name. Hunter Horsley. It's like Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Sounds very similar. I know. What's the point of that? Nothing. It's just was a thought that I wanted to share. Hunter Horsley, that highlights the assets potential well past softness. Thank you, sir. Very good. Very good. A broad shift in global markets is spotlighting the idea that Bitcoin's long-term potential remains intact even after recent price weakness, as investors increasingly assess the scale of capital that may gain access. For the first time, Bitwise CEO Hunter Horsley shared on social media platform X on November 16th that the asset is still small compared to traditional wealth. There's $1.9 trillion in Bitcoin, unquote, he stated. Quote, Bitcoin at 85,000, 95,000, 105,000 is all the same thing, unquote. Go ahead and cook them, sir. You're like Allen Iverson right now in the 1998 with the crossover with the hezzy, just hitting them with the crossover and their ankles just snapping. That's how I envision this. Yes, that's a heck of a visualization, Mick. Yeah, sure, man. First of all, let's get this clear, because I've seen some things. I don't watch mainstream stuff a lot. I don't like the mainstream. Just know that overall, I do like old school movies and stuff, but I don't, and TV shows. Old school, but that's just I'm not saying for you to not like it, but I have seen some Allen Iverson like disregard and disrespect. What? Allen Iverson is one of the most impactful basketball players of all time. You had to be there to witness it. Everybody on the basketball court wore their shorts like AI, headband like AI. Where'd that hezzy come from? Where'd that hezzy come from? Right, Allen Iverson. One of the greatest basketball players of all time. All right. Anyway, let's continue on. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, somebody's like, Mick, Kyrie's better than AI. There is no Kyrie without AI. There's no Kyrie without AI. Stop playing. You don't want to go there. I used to be a sports connoisseur, and with this old information, I put that whooping on somebody with that old information. Not physically. I mean, like just mentally debating, It says, in any case, it's tiny. It has a long way to go. And access is just now opening up for the hundreds of trillions of dollars of wealth to be able to buy it for the first time. Don't lose the forest for the trees. Whoa. Hey, wait a minute, sir. What's your name again? What is your name again? You must be one of us. Hunter Horsley. You're like, what? One of who, Mick? People who read philosophy, epistemology, and we have these phrases that we try to apply to our lives because it makes sense. We felt that the forest, people are seeing the tree. They don't know, they're not recognizing the forest. I literally had someone do that. It wasn't that exact scenario, but it's like they were focused on this minuscule thing. We were talking about something, right? Research based. And I was trying to convey something to them on a particular type of research I'm doing, outside of crypto, of course. And they kept focusing in on this small detail. And I'm trying to use that detail in others to lead them to this bigger picture. And I'm like, well, no, there's this bigger picture here. And they just couldn't see it. And, that was the clearest case of this type of activity that I've ever seen before. And that was within the last 3 weeks. So anyway, so this is what he's saying. He says his comparison referenced the scale of global markets, noting that equities approximate $120 trillion, fixed income around $140 trillion, real estate roughly $250 trillion, money supply about $100 trillion, and gold near $30 trillion. Broader institutional dynamics help explain the setting behind his remarks, as significant asset pools, including pensions, insurers, and sovereign wealth funds, have historically faced regulatory custody and mandate barriers that limited Bitcoin's exposure. The emergence of spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds now places the asset directly inside of brokerage accounts, retirement plans, and advisory platforms, integrating it into the systems used by large wealth managers. Well, there you have it, folks. Bitcoin remains super bullish. And now you're hearing it from someone else. Thank you to this individual right here. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.